when in fact he's a convicted criminal and white supremacist who...
So again, she's rolled out as establishment to lie, slander, defame me.
And said he is a dangerous person. How? Justify it. Well, I think he sometimes stirs up racial hatred, and I think he has a loose relationship with the truth.
For how long is the mainstream so-called right in the United Kingdom going to side with the people who hate this country? Now, I know there are many of you who tell me, Dan, it's better than nothing. It's better than nothing. But I disagree, because how on earth can we sit by on a daily basis as Reform UK bans that lot from the party, including its members, by the way, who simply wanted to join these 100,000 patriots peacefully protesting outside migrant hotels all weekend long? And then there's GB News, which, never forget, I helped to launch and then battled to keep on air in its troubled early days, because I really believed that this was going to be a broadcaster that provided an alternative to the mainstream. But it now operates as a bizarre establishment vehicle, very much part of the MSM, and it controls voices that questions the narrative. Totally the opposite of what I did as its first primetime host, which was platform the disruptors. It looks like Rupert Lowe has been banned from the channel now. He's one of Britain's great hopes under the Restore Britain banner, but he's been added to the network's lengthy banned list. Mark Houghton wrote on X, interesting to hear the claim, Rupert Lowe was banned from GB News due to the reform bias at the station, unsurprised if true. That prompted Rupert to reply, I believe this is true and have been told that. Last few scheduled appearances cancelled at the last minute some time ago. Shame, really. I enjoy their coverage and respect many of the journalists. Farage's sun-sized ego must not be in any way threatened. Former GB News contributor Sophie Corcoran added, you are not the only one. You cannot criticise on reform on GB News. I've been made aware by several insiders unless you are the token lefty. So that's outrageous, right? Totally outrageous. Because what it means is only the independent media, it's only in this space that we're going to be able to shift the Overton window. Because I'm very clear that what GB News and Reform UK want to do is maintain the status quo that has failed us for so long. And that's before we even come to the question of Tommy Robinson, whose mere existence is now unable to be acknowledged on GB News unless he is being arrested or appearing in court. Can you believe that more than half of you are watching this video but not subscribed? So please do me a huge favour, click the subscribe button now, turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to all of our brand new Outspoken videos.
Even now, even like GB News, which is meant to be the people's channel, you're not even allowed to mention my name. They still have a rule you can't mention my name. And I know that because all of the presenters have asked to have me on. And they're like, they've gone mad. They've gone absolutely mad. We can't mention you. I think you're meant to be the free speech channel. Do you know what I mean? They have radical Islamists on. You can't make it up, can you?
No, it's insane.
They have jihadists on. They have left-wing extremists on, communists on, blatant racists on. It's like they still have me as some bogeyman. I don't know why.
Well, I know why. Because Tommy Robinson challenges the establishment consensus and what you have to start working out. And I'm sorry for those of you who keep saying to me, no, Reform UK is the answer, GB News is the answer. Not at the moment, they're not. Not at the moment, they're not. Because they want to continue the terrible policies that have destroyed this country, rather than embracing, for example, a genuine discussion about mass deportations, about remigration, and about the migration change happening in the United Kingdom. I wanted to know, in my interview with Tommy on Friday, exactly why he thinks this is going down. I mean, I looked very closely at the coverage of you on GB News and Talk TV. The moment The Sun released that footage of you being arrested at Luton Airport, it was leading their news bulletin.
Course, yeah.
24 hours earlier, when you had joined Advance UK, Ben Habib's party, a huge moment in British politics, radio silence.
Yeah.
So how do you feel about the fact that, yes, the Overton window is changing,
But these bans in the mainstream media, I mean, The Sun, where I was executive editor, right? And I know The Sun readers better than virtually any person in this country. I love The Sun readers. But I read The Sun today, they still describe you as a far-right thug in their coverage.
No one cares what they say anymore, though. That's their problem. Do you know, like Julie Hartley-Brewer, Talk TV, like, I see her talk down about me. She used to contact me. All of these people, in fact, I'm not going to name them, yeah? But
Go on.
I could pull up my DMs now.
That's what we do here.
I could pull up my DMs now from GB News.
Yeah.
Some of the people on there who, since 2017, have been messaging me about how they've been inspired and they've done this and they've actually gone down that path because of this.
And the day after that sit down, which I have to say has sent shockwaves through the right of British politics, I had the first opportunity, my first opportunity, to go head to head with someone representing GB News for the first time since my exit from the station, which must have been nearly 2 years ago now. During a heated confrontation with Benjamin Butterworth, a GB News contributor and presenter from day one, I got him to admit, this was at Mahyar Tousi's brilliant new media conference, that Tommy is banned from the station because of a perception he is dangerous due to an outrageous claim that he promoted racial hatred.
They want to take a coin, so they accept the censorship while secretly DMing Tommy Robinson behind the scenes.
The only DMs I've exchanged with Tommy Robinson are him saying he'll sue me. There's no secret DMs beyond that. Look, I don't think he should be on there. And actually,
why?
I would make.
Why? Because you disagree with him.
But I think he's a dangerous person, I would make the point. Free speech.
He's behind you!
You have to justify that. You have to justify that.
You have said he is a dangerous person. How? Justify it.
Well, I think he sometimes stirs up racial hatred, and I think he has a loose relationship with the truth. And so the thing is that when you have, here's the other point I was going to get to about new media versus legacy media. Is that sometimes when you have people that are just on, not you actually, and I watch your channel, but sometimes you have people on YouTube or on their TikTok, there's a very loose relationship to the truth. There's not much fact-checking. I think sometimes Tommy Robinson is guilty of that, and that's where new media falls down.
Okay, but Daniel, can I just say one thing about that? Because, seriously, when you think about that for 1 second, that is one of the most chilling things someone in the mainstream media can say. No group of people in this country have been more guilty for lying to the British people for the past 5 years in the most despicable manner. Pakistani Muslim rape gang cover up over the COVID vaccines, cover up over Tommy Robinson, cover up over the lockdown, cover up over Brexit. They lie. The mainstream media lie. This idea that, oh, it's just the terrible YouTubers that lie. No. If we were talking about people lying in the mainstream media, locking people up for that, then Laura Koonsberg, Robert Peston, Beth Rigby, Benjamin Butterworth would all be in jail.
Now, I found the whole exchange totally ludicrous, given that Benjamin had recently boasted about platforming the Taliban. Yes, the Taliban. You know, the throw the gays, throw the women off the buildings, that Taliban, an organisation presumably he must believe is less dangerous than Tommy Robinson. But I also had to call him out when he suggested I didn't challenge the narrative at GB News.
You were only too keen to take the money when they were offering it, so, you know, I think it says more about the fact that you just couldn't keep the job.
No. I think you really have to look at why I was sacked, actually, if you think that I was someone who took the money and did what producers said. And actually, having worked with me there, Benjamin, for the first 3 years, be honest about it, the whole reason I was sacked is because I wouldn't be told what to do. Just be honest about that. You were in that studio with me. No. You were in that studio with me. Seriously, I want you to tell the truth because you've just claimed that I am some type of shill who took mainstream media money. You worked with Benjamin. You worked with me there for 3 years. Was I someone that did what I was told? Look, I thoroughly enjoyed working on your programme, and I've never said otherwise. No. But I know, but just answer the question. Was I someone? You saw the fights I had with the producers behind the scenes when they tried to tell me what to do. Yeah, but you didn't quit over that, did you? No, I was sacked. Exactly. Because I didn't do what I was told to do, and my earpiece. But you know what?
Okay, guys, right.
And we were cut off at that point. But you will note Benjamin Butterworth did not answer the question. Now, Tommy Robinson was watching that exchange. And afterwards, he posted on X, "Let Benjamin Butterworth know that I have recordings that would end his TV career." When that prompted Ash to reply, "That's a highly libelous comment to make, Stephen. If you have compromising footage of him, release it. If you don't, retract comment and apologise. Surely you don't want another libel case. Oh, a side charge of blackmail wouldn't go down well for someone with your history." Tommy responded, "It's not blackmail. I'm stating a fact." Now, Tommy's war with GB News has stepped up a gear because we know he's banned. Benjamin Butterworth confirmed that he's banned because he's viewed as being a dangerous racist on GB News. How pathetic. And the channel's flagship establishment presenter, Camilla Tominey, do you remember this? She went on this morning, disgustingly branded him a white supremacist. When I showed Tommy this shocking footage during our interview on Friday, he was absolutely appalled. Watch. But first, these days we're living through economic whiplash, soaring prices, vanishing savings, and headlines that seem designed to confuse more than inform. Now, we're told this is all normal, that history's been rewritten for our own good, and that embracing these changes is the only path forward. But every outlet tells a different version of reality, and the so-called fact checkers are just enforcing the approved narrative. But luckily, there's a solution. It's ground news, hands down. The easiest way to stay informed, because it cuts through all the spin, all the bias, so you can actually see what's going on and then make up your own mind. So I have it on my phone, as an app, and in my bookmarks online because it's become so essential to my daily life. See for yourself, by the way, at ground.news/outspoken. But I want to show you this incredible website and app in action before I tell you about today's deal. So let's use the very controversial story of the UK pop star, washed up pop star that is, using her BBC podcast with fellow presenter and close friend Makita Oliver, equally awful, claiming she doesn't know how many abortions she's had before settling on 4 or 5. So what Ground News allows you to do is clearly in one place, over 60 sources, 67 sources in fact, covering the story. And then it instantly shows how the story is being covered by the media, broken down by whether the organisations lean to the left or the right. This is what's called the bias distribution chart. Then you scroll down and can literally see every headline about the story immediately, along with the political bias and ownership of the publication. So most of the coverage here is from outlets on the right, because the left decided to shy away from covering such casually offensive comments. When looking at the headlines individually, the left-wing outlets that did cover the story tried to do so with sympathy. We Got This Covered praised her for challenging taboos. The Daily Mirror described it as a heartfelt admission. And Metro News went all out, arguing you can't judge Lily Allen's abortion confession and be pro-choice. But the coverage on the right-leaning outlets, far more strident. Fox News honed on the fact she was laughing during the confession. The Western Journal dismissed her boast as revolting. And The Spectator declared we should be outraged by Lily Allen's 4 or 5 abortions. Now, my favourite feature of Ground News is their blind spot feed, because what this does is every single day surface upwards of 20 stories that receive the majority of coverage from one side of the political spectrum. If you love the news, like I do, this blind spot feed is the best way to get a balanced perspective on what's really happening in the world. So go to ground.news/outspoken or scan the QR code on the screen to subscribe today. And check this out, you will get 40% off the same Vantage plan that I use for unlimited access. That's ground.news/outspoken. But now, back to the show.
When in fact he's a convicted criminal and white supremacist who hasn't really done much. In fact, He's currently serving a sentence for contempt of court.
White supremacist, Tommy. She is the number one, the flagship presenter now for GB News,
That's why
calling
she's
you a
saying
white supremacist.
Again, the public know I'm not a white supremacist. The public, thankfully...
You didn't know she'd done that?
No. The public followed my story, so the public know I'm not a white supremacist. So again, she's rolled out as establishment to lie, slander, defame me, lie about me, and she goes on about how the public view me. Again, no, they don't. Not anymore, they don't. They don't listen to you. She should be sued for that. So should Nigel Farage.
Well, to be honest, though, you could sue.
So should Nigel Farage.
Would you consider it? Or do you feel that's a waste of energy?
It's a waste of my energy and my time. Like, what I started to do.
But she could be, because you can categorically
Julie
prove
Hartley
you're not a
Brewer,
white supremacist, and you can categorically prove...
I've never got a conviction of violence against women. So I could categorically prove it. I'd probably rather stick a camera in their face.
It's more fun.
Well, it's more fun seeing that they ain't got an answer to it. Yeah, because you're lying. Camilla, you're lying.
Tommy continued the escalation of the feud after the interview, writing on X, "Who wants me to find her with a camera? Why would you lie about me like this? Fake news hacks like you are the reason I face violence in the streets. This is wrong. It shows zero respect for your audience. You are taking them for fools. Apologize and correct this lie." Camilla Tominey. She wasn't going to do that, though. Instead, she decided to use an ad hominem attack. "You're a narcissistic thug. Go play crazy elsewhere," she wrote. Now, I think that response, highly uneducated, proves she has no way to justify her egregious white supremacist lie. But actually, what was much worse is that she then copied in the Metropolitan Police, seeming to suggest that she believes trying to interview a newsmaker with a camera on the street, something GB News does every day, is now illegal. Or perhaps she's just like the rest of the mob, who wants Tommy locked away permanently. Camilla's position, though, has sparked a civil war at GB News, with the channel's popular contributor Paula London publicly speaking out against the host, even though she knows it might cost her her job. She wrote years ago, "Before I worked in media, I, like many others, thought that Tommy Robinson was one of the bad guys, racist due to stories in the mainstream media primarily. I now know differently, though." Camilla has received some pushback on Twitter for calling him a white supremacist on air when he isn't. And I feel she should retract this quote, as untrue statements like this could result in Tommy being harassed or worse unnecessarily. Camilla didn't like being accosted at Wimbledon for her views online, but Tommy is supposed to accept what happens to him because posh people are allowed to defame him online? I don't think so. Camilla loves Douglas Murray, and I respect him hugely too, and he has similar beliefs to Tommy Robinson. If Camilla took the time to research Tommy's charges and convictions, she may change her tune. She added, this is Paula London, "I will always be thankful for GB News for giving me my break on TV. But if I don't return to the channel due to being very honest online, this is perfectly fine, and I wish the channel well. I first appeared on GB News a year after they launched, but I worry about the path they are taking now." Perhaps even more bitter is the Reform UK reaction to Tommy's claim in his Outspoken interview that he has enough information to destroy its leader, Nigel Farage. Watch.
I was sat in solitary confinement. Imagine my kids watching that prick.
Yeah.
Imagine my children watching that lying scoundrel sit on national TV to a daytime audience, a massive audience on Nick Ferrari's show, and say that I've got a conviction for violence against women. At the same time as this, Nigel was crying on TV about Kemi Badenoch making a comment about his membership. And he was demanding she apologise. It's like, you've just gone and told everyone I've got violence against women, Nigel. If you want, Nigel, no, again, I don't even want to get into it. I was going to say, if you want all the things I found out about you, which is a hell of a lot. I know about every sordid affair. I know about every person. I know about everything. And I'm not just know about it. I've got evidence and recordings of it, you mug. But it's just like, again, I don't even want to go there. I just think, Nigel, apologise, not to me, apologise to my family and my ex-wife. Because she had to make some grovelling statement, because I read it when I got out of jail. She had to put some big statement out about how I've never laid a finger on her, because that's what he's told people. So yeah, it's frustrating, and I'm probably getting frustrated now.
Now, after that, the party's new attack dog, this former Tory Sarah Pochen, was given an opportunity to respond to Tommy on Talk TV, where Alex Phillips, and I give her credit for this, described the activist as the thorn in the side of reform. Pochen's response was depressingly predictable. Watch this exchange.
Thorn in the side of reform, it seems, is the name Tommy Robinson. Richard Tice upset a great many people when he called people who might support or like Tommy Robinson that lot. Love him or loathe him. One thing about Tommy is he has a huge groundswell of grassroots support, and largely among people who haven't necessarily voted before, but people who'd be naturally inclined to vote reform more than anybody else. Now, he has turned around criticising reform and essentially telling everybody to back Ben Habib's outfit instead. Does that concern you?
Look, you know, he's entitled to his own opinions. I've never spoken to him. I've never met him. But what we call, if you like, extreme views, or maybe, you know, views that are a little bit too far right, that we're not interested in that in the party. We are we have our views. We are common sense, sensible politicians that are just reflecting the views of the British people.
I mean, people say that he was the man who blew the whistle on grooming gangs, and that's now become a serious issue of national debate.
Well, I don't think he could do that, but he would sort of take the credit for that. Grooming gangs has been going on, you know, for years and years and years. People have been trying to raise the subject of grooming gangs. Look at people like Maggie Oliver. You know, I don't think Tommy Robinson can suddenly wade in and, you know, and claim credit for all of that.
Well, I fear GB News and Reform UK are on the wrong side of this argument. There is an arrogance to their projects, which is anchored in the fact that true British patriots, they believe, have no real alternatives. But think about how much has changed in just a year. It's impossible to predict the real change that this country will be demanding by 2029, especially with political prisoners like Tommy Robinson and Lucy Connolly prepared to speak out against the deep state through independent platforms like this one.
I had to go to jail. Lucy Connolly doesn't realise it now. Unfortunately, darling, and her family watching, she had to go to jail because that imprisonment has been part of the mass awakening which is now priming this nation for a proper revolution. And if she didn't go to jail and people didn't see the injustice and feel the injustice, it might take another 10 years. So all of these bad things that happened, me, solitary confinement for 7 months, had to happen. People had to see it. People have to understand we needed Keir Starmer to get elected. We need to see what it's like living under the Labour government. You all need to see what they're going to do with your money, bankrupt you, betray you. They don't care about you. People needed to see that. Yeah. So although it's bad, all of these things have been part of the situation that had to happen. So then the best thing is currently, they think they were installing fear. They think they were scaring everyone. On the 13th of September, they're going to witness the biggest fuck you to the establishment this country's ever seen. They're going to see people come in numbers that we could never have dreamed of. Yeah? We're going to lock down the whole of our capital city with people who are going to be there to celebrate their identity and their culture. They have wanted to break us and make sure we're not united. We're going to unite like they've never seen on the 13th of September, and we're going to do it our way. And when I say our way, we're not going to riot. There's not going to be no face coverings. There's going to be no balaclavas. There's going to be smiles, children, celebration, and a togetherness that will strike the biggest fear into that British establishment. And they will realise that, and I want the world to see, because the world is going to be watching September 13th in central London, and they're going to realise that Britain is awake. And they weren't awake.
I know some of you won't like it, but I'm not prepared to back the least worst option, because I don't think that's going to be enough to save Britain. To react now, the Superstar panel. And I'm delighted to have Jasmine Birtles of Money Magpie, which you can subscribe to now on YouTube, and the brilliant independent political commentator, Peter C. Barnes. So good to have both of you here. Peter, are you prepared to back the least worst option? Are you just prepared to say, oh, look, Reform UK, it's our only hope. GB News, it's better than Sly News and the British bashing corporation, so let's forgive them for banning Tommy Robinson?
I'm going to say, I think the day I back Reform UK, I think someone should check that my family are being held hostage. I have been calling this party out since day one. It has been nothing but compromise, nothing but just hypocrisy of the highest order. The fundamental problem is Reform. As soon as they saw a path to power, they started to chase votes and not earn them. So that basically meant that they started to compromise on every single position. Look at Shamima Begum, look at Tommy Robinson as the lightning rod of a lot of these issues. I mean, what is the point of tearing down the establishment to merely replace it with the exact same thing? And that is what you're going to get with Reform UK. I mean, they talk about the uni party. They are the uni party in every single way imaginable because it is about power and not principle.
Jasmine, are you disappointed with what's happened at GB News? I mean, you were there in the early days with me. Why on earth is Tommy Robinson banned? Because Benjamin Butterworth said he's a dangerous person. I mean, it just feels like such a bizarre statement for the free speech channel to make.
Well, I think with GB News, as with Reform, they're wanting desperately to go into the space that at the centre that has been vacated by the Tories and by BBC, Sky News, ITV, all, mainstream media. They are wanting to be mainstream. And as you know, they had incredible fights with, well, actually, I wouldn't call them fights. They capitulated very quickly with the off-communists, as you call them, which is a great way of describing them, Ofcom. So Ofcom was on their backs constantly about the vaccine. You mentioned that in your talk before. And I think they're doing everything they can. They are turning themselves inside out to not be what really, ideally, you and I think they should be, which is a proper alternative. They do, I believe, like Reform, need to stand for what they really believe in. As Peter says, it needs to be on principle and, go hang yourselves, Ofcom. And I think they would get a lot of respect and they would ultimately win out if they did that. But they're very scared of seeming to be ultra right-wing. They want to be right-wing, but not ultra right-wing. They want to be a little bit questioning the establishment, but nowhere near enough to actually question the COVID vaccine, etc.
Totally. I think it's fake. Actually, I think it's fake because remember, the billionaire boss of GB News just hired Michael Gove, who endorsed Kamala Harris to be US president as the editor of The Spectator. I think that tells you a little bit about where their politics are. He was a long-term member of the Lib Dems, by the way. But one of the issues with importing the establishment into Reform UK, Peter Bunce, is that you get establishment positions. So did you see last week, Sarah Pochen came out on the channel where I know you work sometimes, Peter, Talk TV, and they're probably the best of the bad bunch. They do some good work. And she said, I'm for digital ID. I have no problem with digital ID. And it was like, oh my God, this is the issue. If you're just going to hire every establishment, mainstream Tory or Lib Dem into your party, this is what you're going to get. So during this interview with Alex Phillips, there was what I describe as a mortifying flip-flop, Peter, where she basically had to admit, Nigel told me off and I changed my long-held position. Watch.
And I actually said on Peter's show, but you know what? I will talk to Nigel about that. I have done exactly that. I had a good old debate with Nigel yesterday on this very subject. And actually, I have genuinely now changed my position because he raised some really interesting points. Like, for example, on that ID card, I was thinking, well, your passport's going to be on it and I don't know, your national insurance number, whatever, your driving license. And would it be quite convenient to have it all in one place? But Nigel pointed out, look, they're going to have all your NHS records on that card. And look what happened under COVID and the COVID passport and all of that, and how that was controlling the population.
So, Peter, it's all fine. It's all fine. She doesn't think digital IDs are okay.
Oh, well, this Sarah Pochen is a woman without principle and probably without a thought most of the time. It's the only time I've ever agreed with Zia Yusuf is that she's not the smartest woman in the world, and I don't think that's a bad thing to say. It says very highly about the standard of politicians that we have in this country. The fundamental problem is she is basically rolled out to kind of give Nigel's line so Nigel can have a day off. Because let's be honest, everything is coming from Nigel. There's no actual policy unit. There's no actual ideas behind reform. Everything comes from Nigel. And unfortunately, he flip flip-flops more than the fish that you're talking about. It's ridiculous. I mean, let's look at the Shamima Begum incident. He suddenly had, it was all the breakdown of the relationship with Donald Trump over Elon Musk, and then he was suddenly in favor of the same policy as over Shamima. That's a weird coincidence, isn't it? Look at Rupert Lowe. He dared challenge Nigel, and he was suddenly considered questionably with Alzheimer's and all the rest of it. I mean, at what point are people going to wake up and realize that he is the problem? You don't get me wrong. He's a brilliant campaigner. He's put reform on the map. You help us get Brexit over the line and all of that stuff. But you're only as good as your last game. And unfortunately, the game he's playing now is not that great. And if you want to save reform, if you want this great alternative, he's got to go because he's the biggest impediment to success.
And of course, if you are like Rupert Lowe and you challenge Reform UK, you will also find yourself banned from GB News, because the problem is these establishment organs are all working together. Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews, and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go, wherever you are.